Hello and welcome to ThePapare.com. You're watching the 75th Bradby Talk Show live from a brand new venue here in Colombo, the Blackout, your number one rugby venue. And we'll be having a quick chat show because we are going to get to the goodies in just a little bit. We're talking to two esteemed gentlemen about the upcoming Bradby fixture, the first leg of the Bradby on the 1st of June, and of course the next one in a couple of weeks' time. And it's something that everybody always looks forward to. Is it a little bit lackluster this year? We'll find out from Abdella Yusuf, who's on my immediate left, a former Royal College captain of 1997, and of course former Trinity and SW Chang, a name that's very familiar with every one of us who played rugby and have been refereed by SW and coached by SW, a huge part that he played in the game over the last few years. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome. Thanks.
It's been a fantastic tournament so far, but there's been a massive break. We can't not talk about that, Abdella. The teams last played on the 30th of March, so almost 2 months since they last played again. It's almost as if the Bradby is the first match of the season. How is that going to affect them?
Yes, I think generally the Bradby is always played towards the latter part, or at least once this new format came in, at least mid-season. So the teams had a bit of an opportunity to build up towards the Bradby. But this year, due to the unfortunate circumstances, it has changed. So it'll be interesting to see how the teams would have prepared for it. I'm sure the coaching staffs of both teams would have tried to simulate game situations as much as possible, try to get more contact sessions in, because it's pretty much, as you said, they're like coming into a new season. So that could very well prove to be a key part in how this game develops.
SW, I think Royal were probably looking like the better side going into the second round of the league when we stopped play for the out of the break. Do you think that this break would have helped Trinity a little bit more?
I totally agree with you, Shanaka, on the performance so far. And Trinity Royal were definitely the favourites, and Trinity went in. They're gone in as underdogs. If the teams are playing on the scheduled dates. But having said that, with the gap coming in and whether the preparations has been intense as the teams would like to have it done out, and then to answer your question, I think Royal will go out as favourites even on the 1st of June.
Well, they've been favourites for a long time now, Changa, and they've been winning consecutively. How has this upset the Trinity psyche? Because you've had players coming up right from under 13, maybe under 15, who've never really seen a massive Bradby win. How is that going to affect them?
Yeah, I know, because for the results wise, we have not done, Trinity not done that good, and especially where the Bradby is concerned. And now I think everybody has put their hand up, and we got Imti Malika coming into the system, and he's a very qualified campaigner, and he's hell-bent on getting the traditions in and getting discipline in, and hopefully that has worked out, and I think it has worked out for some extent, and things are coming right and looks good. The bigger picture, I always, in my opinion, I say if you win the Bradby this year, it's a bonus. It's a matter of getting things done. As you said, for the last couple of years, Trinity's results have not been that good, and hopefully that they will put it right.
Abdella, you were on the bench for the 50th Bradby. It's now 25 years since then, 75th Bradby, who would have thunk it? But it's a big milestone. And how will this affect guys like Tuleb Hassan, who is the captain of this Royal team, and the experienced players that he's held in that team? Is it going to be a bit more pressure for them to handle?
I don't think so. I think every Bradby brings its own pressures as it is. I don't think there'll be anything extra as far as the players are concerned, because as far as they are concerned, they'll be very much focused on the game. I guess it's just the old boys around it that will just try and create that festive atmosphere given the milestone that it is. But from the boys' point of view, I think they'll very much be focused on what needs to be done to get that shield for their respective schools.
It's going to be an interesting challenge for the coaches of Royal as well. They've got players who are very good in a couple of different positions, especially in that back line. So how are they going to best utilize guys like Karana Nandila, Malaysia Pereira, Lehan Gunaratna alongside Tuleb Hassan?
Yes, well, the fact, although as we spoke about earlier, they haven't played the game for a couple of months yet, the coaches have had an opportunity to look at these players for about 5 games. So I'm sure they'll have a fair idea what their best 15 is and what those particular positions are to be. So I'm fairly sure Dushant Luke would have a fair idea on what kind of combinations he wants to play. So I don't think the combination-wise that will be too much of an issue, because they've had about 5 games to assess that.
And SW, with regard to the Trinity College team, you don't have to come up against a guy like Johnny the Dilshan for the first time in a while. He's a guy that has really been able to take Bradby's away from teams. So will that bolster the Trinitians' confidence? Do you think this is their best chance in a while?
I think in schools rugby, Shanaka, because players come in and they go out because there's an age limit, not like the club rugby, you can continue a couple of years. But having said that, yes, he has been a thorn in the flesh for Trinity Rugby. And with him off, it doesn't mean that they have the lesser numbers to take his place. I'm sure about that. I'm sure the package is quite full. And Trinity will have to be on the lookout whether it's Dhananjay Dilshan has gone off or not. They'll have to be at their best to get the Tuskers off the field and to regain the shield.
Well, Trinity have been attacking well. They're playing with an attacking philosophy. They've scored a lot of tries. In fact, Abdella was saying that they are the joint highest try scorers with St. Peter's, and they've come up against possibly more difficult opposition in that first round as well. So there are a lot of positives to take into this game. Do you think they'll continue with that philosophy?
Yeah, there are positives. I know that he had the stats, but I would like to see the stats for against Trinity. How many tries were scored against Trinity? And if I can get those stats, we will know where we stand. As much as it's an attacking team, but then when it comes to defense, whether we have allowed more tries to be scored against us, it's another question, another area that we'll have to look into. And to me, I think defense is the best form of attack nowadays and to win games.
Well, Abdella, you had that stat as well. I think Trinity have conceded 105 points, Royal have conceded only 59 points. So defensively, both teams very different in the way they approach the game. Do you think Royal are going to go with that defensive philosophy again, or will they want to be a little bit more, bring a little bit more flair?
Well, I think it's more a case of how both these teams approach the game. Trinity, their backline, I feel, is as good as anyone in schools rugby. When they get some good front foot ball, they're very hard to stop. They've got those Kulatunga boys, and I think the skipper Reshan at the back, and of course that's Amarasinghe at 13. They're extremely good runners once they get some good front foot ball. So it's also the style of play they play. They play a fairly open brand of rugby. So when you do that, there is always the opportunity where you will leak a few tries as well. Royal, on the other hand, they pride themselves on controlling possession. They play a relatively low-risk game. And as we said, their defense is also very well structured. So more than the outlook of the game, it's the way they approach the game, the amount of chances they take. Royal a bit more conservative in their approach, but highly effective. Trinity like to play with a bit more width. So I think that is why we probably see such a disparity between the points which both teams have conceded this season.
Royal have lost just one game for the moment, SW. That was against St. Peter's, where they got beaten probably at their own game, you would have to say. It was a very tight, very controlled game. And that has been the story in most of their first round matches. This is probably the first opposition they're going to come up against who are good and also would like to run the ball. Is that going to be something that will take them by a little bit of surprise?
I'm sure they will be well prepared for it. But having said that, St. Peter's versus Royal, battle of the coaches mattered there, and battle of the forwards. Both coaches are very good in their forwards play, and then that's where the battle came in with the driving mode. But having said that, you're right, Shanaka, because then now they are facing a different set of boys who are attacking. They'll go from all corners, and Trinity loves to run the ball. They love the offloads. But as long as I said before, as long as they get their defense right, like Royal, now I'm surprised. Look at the stats: 100 points to 59. That's 50% almost, and that's where the match-winning statistics come in. So you must have your defense well organized.
Abdella, you think the Trinity College forwards are going to be good enough to match up these Royal boys?
Yeah, that's the other area of the game. I think Royal, their set piece has been relatively sound this year. They've hardly turned over possession. Trinity, on the other hand, I think both the games they lost against Isipatana as well as St. Joseph's, they struggled at set piece. And what then happens is your three quarters don't get enough quality ball. And that was the reason why those two games, they probably lost it with pretty healthy margins as well. So that's an area which I'm sure Royal will look to capitalize. They've got some wonderful line-out jumpers like Fadil Adhan, a real exponent in the second row position. So if Royal can disrupt that Trinity line-out, starve them of possession, then I think they'll go a long way in deciding their match in the Royals' favor.
And Trinity perhaps wanting to go wide quickly, guys like Kevin Samarseka could really come into the game for Royal as well.
That's right. Royal's third row this year has been very good. I think Samadhi Indrona, Kevin Samarasinghe and Radishan, they've been absolutely outstanding around the park. So if they can also not just deprive possession but also slow the ball down at the breakdown, because the Trinity backs, they thrive on quick ball. So at the breakdown, if Royal can just try and slow the ball, legally of course, then I think they'll go a long way in shutting Trinity's outer backs down.
Speaking of legally, SW, you've been around the refereeing block a few times and you know how important the interpretation of that game is going to be. So how would you like to see the game played? Fast and open, because that will favour Trinity. Royal would like maybe a bit more of a stop-start game. How much of an impact do you think the officiating is going to have on?
It doesn't matter the boys whether they play it in a fast and open or a stop-start game. As long as in my books, my advice is to refereeing part of it is, if one team is stopping the other team illegally by trying to gain possession, he should come in. And the other team is trying to gain position legally, you should allow it and see the other side doesn't interfere. So that's where it's I think it's very easy to referee these games now because they're all well planned. You know, it's like being a band leader. You know, everything is well planned. Not the time that when we referee, they ran from the 22, they ran from this corner, they ran from all the corners. Here you can fathom the game. It's just going on to the blind short side, just hitting it, and then it's more on a league basis.
It's more predictable.
Yeah, predictable. Yeah. That's right. That's the word. It's more predictable. So it's easy to referee as long as you have a fair and square deal for the team that is trying to win position legally, and the team that is trying to keep position legally. So that's where you have to get in. That's it. Full stop. And the story. And I think we will. I'm sorry to say this, but having been a referee, it's very difficult to touch that. But our refereeing standards need to be lifted. We need to be looked at in a different angle. And without being a showman, showpiece, you know, I know everything, I'm the man who controls it. No, the 15 on the field or the 30 on the field matters.
I think we don't really know who's going to be blowing the game as yet at the time of this talk show, but that's going to be a high pressure job for sure. Abdella, last three encounters, 2016, there was a draw of course, and we saw that very close game. 2017, Royal winning by a 10-point aggregate, and in 2018 winning by a 40-point aggregate. So they'll be wanting to improve on that.
Yeah, that's right, and they will want to try and get a win up in Kandy. I think that will be crucial for their chances. If they can just go and get a win up in Kandy, that will give them a lot of confidence coming down to Colombo. The pitch in Kandy will definitely favour the way Trinity like to play. It's a bit of a big ground, it's a very fast-paced ground. So if Royal can just sneak a win up there, then I think they'll go a long way in them to secure the Bradby.
And how much will hometown advantage be in Pallekele, SW?
Yeah, it will be because the surrounding, the boys are used to it, have been living there, and I'm sure whether you had all these things that are going around, both teams must have practiced somewhere down the line, would have done their basics, kicking and passing, all that, although they would have not had any, organized practice sessions as such, but they would have done their individual training. And definitely, Trinity should have advantage, home team at Pallekele, and they should make use of the advantage, otherwise useless. Because if you come down to the Colombo match, like I always tell them, if you win the toss, attack in the first half from your pavilion from right to left, because or rather the other way around, sorry, from left to right, because Royal loves the left-hand corner. That's where they score their tries. Deprive them on them giving that corner in the second half. So these are things that, you know, teams have to look in. And even if you go to Science College, you go to Mount Lavinia, they love to play on the left far corner. That's where when they get there, they're like tigers. They just want to score that try there. So there are little points where the team is so used to it. I'm sure Abdullah is very familiar with that, because I find Royal very effective on the left-hand corner, especially the line out there. It's very difficult to stop them.
Lots of idiosyncrasies coming from that Pallekele ground, and indeed any home ground for lots of teams. Finally, gentlemen, Abdullah, how do you think it's going to go first leg, and the Bradby in general? Do you think that it's going to be a split, or do you think one team is going to win both?
The thing is, we are in a unique position this year, I feel, Shanaka. The fact that the teams have been out of rugby for 2 months, so it's very hard to gauge what kind of form they will be coming into this game. But I just feel that Royal, given the fact that in this kind of scenario where if a team hasn't played rugby for some time, you will always want to try and play a bit more of a tighter game where you can control position, where you eliminate the risks. So that is more focused towards Royal's team. So it will be a very close game, but considering circumstances, I feel that Royal will probably nick it, but with a very close margin.
SW, will it be a smash and grab for Trinity, do you think?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think it will be, like he said, it's going to be a tight game, it's going to be a close game, and Trinity is not going to give it in either. And my bit of advice is, if you find a set of forwards that are going to play tight and they're going to dictate terms, just spread them out, so that they won't come together as a unit. Having said that, if you go to the last year's two packs, Trinity had a heavier pack, but Royal just shoved them off. You know, that talks about technique and against weight. So Trinity will have to be absolutely spot on defence, and to see what Royal will come out with, and definitely Royal have the edge over Trinity even this year.
Well, both our experts say that Royal have the edge, but is that shown in the form books? St. Peter's have that one win over Royal College, and Trinity have two losses, one against St. Joseph's, a convincing loss there, and a very close game against Isipatana as well, that they lost both of those teams. St. Joseph's and Isipatana, very good sides. So who knows, we can analyze it till the cows come home, but in the end it's going to be decided on the day in Pallekele. It's going to be a tournament game as well, so there's an added spice to it from there, but it's going to be the 75th Bradby, and what an anniversary it's going to turn out to be as well. What an honor for these boys running out on the day at Pallekele. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We see you up in Kandy, and here we are in Colombo at the Blackout, and it's time for us to go and tuck in.